Hey gang, Melissa Hinault here with the Burnout to All Out podcast. I'm a mom of three, corporate burnout that built a secondary six-figure income around my 9-to-5 with little kids. This set me free and allowed me to fire my boss and pursue my wildest dreams. It took grit, persistence, and belief. But now, operating multiple six-figure businesses as an online entrepreneur and business coach, I have become a serial entrepreneur with a passion to inspire more burnouts to take the leap and go all out and live out their dreams. Each week, I'll bring you inspiring all-out guests, lifestyle business tips and tools to empower you to take the leap from burnout employee to all-out entrepreneur, making your passion your paycheck. If this mom of three, corporate burnout, can go all out, so can you. Hey gang, so I hope you enjoy this podcast episode. I am sharing with you guys, oh my gosh, I am just sharing with you all the goods on how I have been able to generate tremendous leads over the past 3 years on attraction marketing, using attraction marketing. Imagine that you have prospective clients that literally fall into your inbox and onto the phone with you because you have created a know, love, and trust factor that is undeniable. So if you're kind of grasping at straws on how to brand and position yourself on social media and create attraction marketing versus spammy pammy, guys, listen in today, grab your pen and pencil, and would love to hear what you come up with after listening to this. Go over to our Burnout to All Out Facebook page and share with us what you've crafted, what you've come up with, what you've learned. We're going to be raffling off some freebies for those of you who engage. Well, good morning, a Burnout to All Out community. Oh my goodness. So I love Fridays. I've talked about this before, but Fridays are dessert days for me because I get to create. I get to create for you guys. I have to say up front that today my husband's actually working from home because we are leaving early today to head to the mountains to celebrate his 40th birthday. My gift to him was a trip to the mountains kid-free. So this is real world, real life. He's down the hall. You may hear him talking as I'm podcasting, and that's just the way it goes. I'm actually grateful he's here, and we can peel out midday this week, middle of the week, middle of the day today, and head to the mountains. So guys, I'm so excited about this podcast today. I think that for those of you who've been struggling with creating content on social media, this is going to be your go-to podcast. So if you've been grasping at straws, if you've been a little bit lost your way with content creation, today I'm going to walk you guys through my magic formula and process to create content over and over and over again that really is attracting your ideal client, your ideal customer, or your ideal business partner. We did a very in-depth workshop with this in my academy this week, and I'm going to be kind of doing a broad brush overview for you guys, taking into consideration that some of you are in all aspects of business and selling all aspects of resources and products and coaching services. So again, deep dive today. Get your pen and paper ready. Close out all your tabs. Take a listen. If you're driving, you're probably going to want to re-listen to this with some notes. Okay, so here's the thing. If you are in social selling, which I am assuming if you're listening to this podcast, you are a social seller. What is a social seller? A social seller is someone who is selling something socially. Okay. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. You could be selling coaching services. You could be selling products. You could be selling a business model. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be quite frank with you. Regardless of where you were pre-COVID and thinking you didn't need social media to grow and scale your business, post-COVID, if you are not on media and you are not considering yourself a social seller, you're obsolete. You're obsolete. It doesn't matter what you are selling. It could be financial services. It could be real estate. It could be in network marketing and products. It doesn't matter, because quarantine and lockdown have forced us to become more social animals on media than ever before. So if you got away with hosting events and doing the belly to belly, being that bubbly person who could just draw in people face to face, guys, this is probably a game changer for you. You're having to make that shift. Again, I will say, quote one of my favorite mentors, Gary Vaynerchuk, if you have a good or product or business to sell and you are not leveraging social media daily, you are, my friends, obsolete in 2020 and 2021. But never fear, if you've lost your way or you've been astray, I am going to bring you the goods today and walk you through my magic formula. Okay. Here's the thing. Being ever present on media is critical. Now, this doesn't mean it has to burn you out and wear you out because you're constantly having to create and constantly having to be in the feed. I am going to share with you some simple tactics on how to come up with a formula for content creation and how to time manage so that you're not feeling like daily you have the pressure of being novel and creating something new. Okay, so we're going to talk through that. But the reality is, creating content and putting it on media, okay? Creating content and putting it on media is an income producing activity. Now, I want you to hear me right. I didn't say getting on Instagram and Facebook, scrolling aimlessly was an income producing activity. That is not what I said. What I said is creating content and putting it in media, in the feed. That is an income producing activity. I would venture to challenge you that actually you should create your content offline, okay? Create your content offline and then come online to dump it in. That way you don't squirrel. You don't come in to start creating something and get squirreled by 12 different pings and dings and messages and things that are coming through your feed, okay? So that's going to be my tip number one. But here's the thing, guys. Timing is everything. Timing is everything. Okay. So what I mean by that is about 2 to 5% max. 2 to 5% max of your audience in your network actually see what you're putting in your feed. Okay. So what does that mean? That is one of the reasons we must be ever present with content coming through our feed. We may put something out and assume our entire network saw it, but in reality, 2 to 5% saw it. Here, I'm going to give you a little nugget right here, right now, that some of you probably never thought about. If you have a post that got great views and great engagement, guess what? I'm going to give you permission to rinse and repeat. What do I mean? I mean, every month or two, it is okay to recycle content that created massive engagement previously, because guess what? Only about 3 to 5% of your network saw it the first time. And if it generated a lot of leads, it generated a lot of traction and engagement, you should post it again. Here's the other thing. Here's another reason you should post it again. If you are growing strategically your network like I coach in my LinkedIn Academy, if you are growing your network on the daily, on the weekly, on the monthly, guess what? Guess what? You have new audience. You have a new audience. You have a fresh set of eyes that never saw that one-hit wonder post that went out 6 months ago. Guess what? They never saw it. I think we have these demons in our own minds that like, oh my gosh, I can't repost this. All has to be fresh all the time. So I'm giving you permission. I'm giving you permission to rinse and repeat, okay? And the other thing is, timing is everything for another reason. So I talked about timing being everything as far as the right prospect in the feed at the time that your content is going through. But secondly, people's mindset and where they are in life could be different today than yesterday and different today than tomorrow, okay? There is no better example than the disruption we're living in right now. I spoke to this in one of my previous podcasts, but here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. When disruption happens, people think differently. People think differently. Some of my listeners who are listening in right now might not have even been willing or interested in engaging in what I had to offer and what I'm doing until recently. When disruption happens, people reassess everything. So where am I going with this? Content that you put out a year ago may not have resonated at the time with someone in your feed that's in your network, but that same message today, because their situation has changed, they are now open to what you have to present. Okay. So follow me on this journey for a minute. Okay. What's important is that you have been consistent in your branding for the long haul in that feed so that that prospect, that prospective business partner, the prospective client, prospective consumer, you, my friend, become first to mind. You become first to mind when that mindset shift happens. Okay. Because what I want to say is that if you haven't created that know, love, and trust factor in the feed over a period of weeks to months, people aren't going to think of you first to mind when their situation changes. Okay. So this is what I mean by this. If you're not constant in the feed with your brand, and we're going to talk about my magic formula in just a couple of minutes, but if you're not constant in your feed about what you are, who you represent, what your value proposition is, what your brand is, then the moment the situation changes for a prospect who does not know you, that first post that lands in their feed that day, there's no love and trust factor there. They aren't thinking of you first to mind, right? But if you've been consistent in their feed for the past 6 to 8 months and their situation changes, they've been watching you and now you become first to mind. I'll give you a great example, my own personal experience, and then I'll share with you an example of where it's worked for me. A couple of years ago, about 5.5 years ago, almost 6.5 years ago now, I watched a friend of mine go through a health transformation publicly online, and then also watched her publicly leave her company, her 9 to 5, and begin to rave about this network marketing company that she had locked arms with. And for months, she was consistently in my feed, educating me about this company, about the freedom she had gained, about the lifestyle she was living, about how healthy she had become, right? Here's the thing. It was going through my feed for months. And where was my mindset? My mindset was, good for her. That's great. Good for her. I'm healthy. I'm on a paleo diet. I exercise hard. Good for her. I've got a great career. I've got a great income, but good for her. But guess what she did over 8 months? In my feed, she had a branding campaign that created know, like, and love and trust factor, right? I knew exactly what she was about. I knew exactly what her value proposition was, even though it didn't align to what I needed at the time. Fast forward 8 months. Fast forward 8 months where I hit a wall and couldn't get those last 5 to 6 pounds off from that baby. And we were going on this big trip to St. John, and I was the only woman, the only wife going who had had any children, right? And by the way, my pharmaceutical company had just announced massive layoffs. Okay. I want to underscore something right here, right now. Major disruptor, right? Things changed in my life, right? When instantaneously I thought I want to look as hot as I possibly can in my bikini before I go to St. John. And, oh, by the way, my career is unstable and it looks like what this chick is doing is really working for her. Now all of a sudden, 8 months in, I'm open. I'm open because I knew exactly what she was about. I knew exactly what her value proposition was, and I was open. What I want to underscore here is, had she not been consistent in my feed, and not an obnoxious way, we're going to talk about that, but in a way that was just frequent enough for me to understand what she was passionate about, what she represented, and what her value proposition was, when I was ready, she was ready to embrace me. and I knew exactly who to reach to. Okay. Are you guys tracking with me on this? Okay. So my own personal story, many of leads that I get on LinkedIn, the majority of them, guys, I don't recruit them overnight. I don't recruit them over the weekend. I don't recruit them in a week. I don't recruit them in a month. Some of my best business partners took a year to enroll with me, but they saw, so one of my examples will be Danielle Cole. She was a pharmaceutical rep who saw my story. She saw my inspiration, and I'm going to share with you guys my formula that I use that really attracted her towards me over a period of a year, where it wasn't relevant to her in the beginning, but it was in the back of her mind and she was watching me. And when her situation changed, I was first to mind, right? I brought her into my organization, coached her up, and she's been flying ever since as a top income earner in my team. Same example with another guy that I went to pharmacy school with, okay? He saw me on LinkedIn and thought, great for her, what an inspiration, but I'm not ready for it. I'm not interested, okay? 18 months in, when his situation changed, he was open. So what am I trying to share here? It's the long game, okay? It's the long game of your branding campaign that creates the know, love, and trust factor that ultimately takes a cold market to get to know you and trust you and think of you as a point of reference for your value proposition when their situation changes. And this, my friend, is called attraction marketing, which I love. I coach to this very detailed in my LinkedIn method training, but it's all about creating attraction marketing versus the spammy, pammy, wham, bam, Instagram post and pray that a lot of people do. Okay. All right. So let's dive in. Before I get into the 4 key components of really unfolding and unpacking a branding campaign, what I want you to recognize and appreciate is that dimension is really important when you're posting. There's different ways that you can create dimension, from photos to graphics. With LinkedIn, I love generating polls to engage my audience, posting articles, sharing other articles. But the key here is create dimension when you post. Don't just always post a thought with no graphic, or, you guys get what I'm putting here. A video, right? A video once a week. You get so much more attention, and people get to know you because they hear your ums. They hear you mess up. They see that your hair isn't perfect, right? That makes you human, guys. And becoming human on your media platforms. Obviously, I'm really passionate about LinkedIn, but becoming human and relatable is huge. Okay. It's huge to just misspeak every now and again and not look perfect, because people can relate to you and they begin to trust you. Okay. The other thing I want to tell you is that if you're spending hours trying to make the perfect post, I'm going to tell you something that might hurt your feelings. You're doing it all wrong. If you're trying to be perfect and you're trying to cater to everyone for fear of looking funny or not saying it right, guys, you're doing it all wrong. Okay? Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't respect and value the power of media and content and take it seriously. But what I want you to understand is that I just want you to be your authentic self. When you are your authentic self and you're crystal clear on who you are trying to attract, which I'm not going to get into that in this podcast today. That's a whole nother workshop that, again, we dive really deep into in my program. But if you are crystal clear on who you are trying to attract, your content becomes really easy to flow, and you care a lot less about the people who aren't going to like what you put out. Here's the thing. Care less, easier said than done, care less about what others think about you, about the perfect word, about the perfect post, about the perfect message, and just share what's in your soul and on your heart, that you know that ideal client or prospect, that it's going to resonate with them, that particular demographic, then you know you're on point. Who cares about the rest of the world? Okay. And I say this a lot, but when you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. When you get laser focused like I have on burnt out mamas who are professionals, who want more in life, they have a high income, they're showing up, but they know that there's more, right? They know that there's more and that they can leverage their badassery in their professional careers to actually own something of their own that has a higher impact and more freedom with them at home, right? I am crystal clear on my messaging and honestly could care less. I honestly don't give a shit what the people outside of my avatar group think about my content, because I'm not trying to attract them. I hope this is making sense. Okay. Here's the thing. So we talked about creating dimension. Okay. Here, I'm going to jump right into, this is where I want you guys to get your pen and paper out. 4 keys to creating content for your ideal, what I call your avatar, the ideal either client, business partner, prospect, right? And there's 4 key components. And this is what I've come up with. One is that you need to be creating value. Okay. Are you creating value in a way that they want to come back over and over and over again because of how you're making them feel, how you're educating them, how the emotion that you're eliciting? Number 2, realness. Okay. I've already hit on this before, but guys, realness. There are typos sometimes in my posts. I say things wrong in my posts. I cuss sometimes in my posts. That's me. Okay. When you're relatable and you're vulnerable, people trust you. When you're perfect all the time, you're not relatable. Okay. So hear me loud and proud here. Realness, value. Those are 2. Number 3, inspire. What are you doing to inspire and cast hope to your ideal client, your ideal prospect, your ideal business partner? What are you doing to inspire? All right. Chances are, if you're listening to my podcast today, you are a social seller of some aspect. You're in business, you're online somehow. Do you want to find more business builders in less time to 10x your business without playing the daily Instagram and Facebook game? Are you tired of being on the hunt daily for new customers of your product to then try to bait and switch them? You know what I'm talking about. To be interested in building a business with you. I have been there. The biggest mistake I see that slows down the expansion and stability of a social seller's business is that they spend way too much time recruiting on media for consumption of their company's products and way too little time in direct conversations with like-minded professionals that would love to actually hear about the business opportunity at hand. I then see so many painstakingly trying to drag customers through the sand to catch the vision of a business model that the consumer has no interest in, wasting time and getting burnt out. Can you relate? If you know my story, you know I've been there and since cracked the code and now drive a highly profitable social selling business 100% off of LinkedIn. Imagine finding with ease customers highly motivated for what services you have to offer to grow them, their business, or to become a business partner with you. That's what you will hear from my students who've gone through my previous LinkedIn method trainings. You don't have to look far. I am so excited for the birth of my brand new academy that has been built out based off of the success and the feedback of my previous students who graduated from my programs. So introducing to you the LinkedIn Method Academy. In this 6-month academy, you will learn to become a business recruiting master on LinkedIn to 10x your business, transform how you brand yourself as the business owner that you are, and master attraction marketing that results in prospects begging to get into your calendar to learn more about what you have to offer. The LinkedIn Method Academy is a first of its kind. It's an ick-free social sellers recruiting method dream. We take away all the spammy tactics that you've been taught on Insta and Facebook, and I teach you how to position yourself as the professional business owner that you are. I teach you how to professionally build your business brand, create an ideal network and pipeline generation that creates massive momentum, and a funnel of weekly calls with viable, motivated humans who are eager to learn more about what you have to offer. It's high-touch coaching, on-demand learning vault that's uniquely customized to meet you exactly where you are on your LinkedIn journey. And we have a dynamic Facebook community with ongoing live training, performance labs and workshops, and hot seat coaching to support your 6-month journey to owning LinkedIn. You also get assigned a personal concierge who will stay with you through the entire program to support you and hold you accountable. Did I mention that there'll also be polished, top-selling social sellers who went before you and are now mentors to share best practices and give feedback in the academy? Guys, this is unprecedented and peerless. There's nothing else out there like this. Think immersion in a community that is the utmost professional and results driven that will help raise your own bar of performance along the way. Do I have your curiosity? Come check out our free 5-day LinkedIn Method workshop streaming live on our Facebook page, Burnt Out to All Out. Starting October 19th, we'll be kicking off a 5-day workshop completely free with tips and tricks. Now, if you're just eager to get started and enroll today, you don't want to wait, go to our academy. Go to www.livethefreelife.co. www.livethefreelife.co. Enroll by October 25th and save 20% as an early bird. Now, there's limited seats. I'm doing that on purpose. I want to keep it high vibe and high touch. All right. So what are you doing in these final months of 2020 to create your trajectory for 2021? If you're looking to 10x your lead generation for business in 2021 through a step-by-step process of proven methods, condensing time and driving results, you found the right home. I hope to see you in the academy. Number 4, and this is critical because if you're listening to this podcast, you have some variation of interest in entrepreneurship, owning, running your own business, right? So the 4th category here is expertise, okay? You have to show expertise in what you are leading with, whatever you're selling, whatever you're recruiting for, whether you're a business coach or you're in network marketing or you have a product or service that you're putting out. Weekly, you need to show your influence and expertise by, again, providing some level of value within your expertise, okay? So what that might look like is if you are, for me, for instance, I give tips and tricks on LinkedIn. You're going to see in my feed maybe once a week tips and tricks on LinkedIn because that creates expertise in my field. People then begin to think of me and my brand as a LinkedIn expert, right? It's free marketing, guys. It's free recruitment. Number 2 for me is residual income. I'm super passionate about creating that secondary income stream that I did in network marketing that allowed me to break free from my 9-to-5. So I'm constantly recruiting for business partners on LinkedIn. And what do I do to create and establish expertise and rapport? I'm in there educating them on what residual income is, what an income producing asset is, right? You have to be able to stand in your power as a leader and an authority in the arena that you're trying to recruit, right? I know some of you are jumping into certain media platforms and you're just trying to recruit people and you've not established any rapport and expertise in what you're trying to recruit for, right? And some of you maybe are grasping at straws at that piece because maybe you don't have the knowledge even though you're excited about your business. And that's where I'm going to challenge you to do your homework. Go do some research. Understand what you're trying, your value proposition and what you're trying to sell. So that may, if you're in network marketing, that may be that you need to go study what residual income is. You need to read some books by Robert Kiyosaki, right? If you're an investor, obviously you've got tons of knowledge. What can you drip out, on a weekly basis to give just enough education to your potential clients that creates their awareness that they need you. They need your services, just like I do with LinkedIn, right? So the thing is, how can you establish expertise and make people want to come back for more in your expertise and know and establish rapport, right? Okay. So those, in summary, I'll sum those up again real quick. Value, realness, inspiration, and expertise. Okay. So that people begin that know, love, trust. Okay. So in the back half of this podcast, what I really want to dive into is my goal by the end of this podcast is that you have 5 days of content that you can plan and that you can take the scaffolding of these 5 days and you can continue to recreate each week based off of these themes and these categories to create your content. Okay. I call them, there's three buckets to get started with that you should be revisiting every single week. If you are a business owner trying to build your brand on a platform, obviously I'm passionate about LinkedIn. Okay. There's 3 categories that you need to fall into every single week in your feed. Okay. Number 1 really goes back to that avatar I talked about in the beginning, who you're trying to attract, that ideal client, that ideal business partner. You have to understand their challenge and be able to cast hope to them. Okay. So I call this the feeling heard, felt, and relatable post. Okay. So what I'm going to do is actually, let me just share with you the 3 major buckets and then I'll take a deep dive. We can unpack each one. The 3 major buckets are feeling heard, felt, and relatable. Okay. That's bucket number 1. That's going to make people lean in and say, yes, that's me. I want to read more, right? Number 2, establishing expertise in the field that you want to create leads from. I already touched on this a little bit earlier. Establishing expertise in the field you want to generate leads from. That's bucket number 2. Bucket number 3 can become an outpouring of all kinds of content. But bucket number 3 is creating familiarity as the dynamic human that you are. Okay. Creating familiarity by being the dynamic human that you are. In my academy, we call it the snowflake exercise. What I mean by that is that every single one of us is a snowflake. We may have some things in common, but there's a lot of things that make us unique, right? And so even though you're going to be in the feed weekly, connecting with your avatar, helping them feel heard and felt and relatable, and even though you're going to be in their feed every week, establishing rapport as an expert in the field, guys, that is not enough to create a know, love, and trust factor. If those are the only things you're pumping through your feed, people find you spammy, on your own agenda, and doing nothing but trying to recruit. Okay? So this 3rd bucket is so critical to create that know, love, and trust and dynamic diversity as a human being that people begin to become even more and more relatable to you. Okay? And we're going to delve into that because that 3rd bucket, and the reason I told you I was going to give you 5 days of content is because that 3rd bucket that makes you uniquely you shouldn't just be one, right? There should be a couple of subcategories that can fill your week with content. Okay? All right. So let's take a little bit of a deeper dive. I hope you guys wrote that down. The 3 major categories are feeling heard, felt, and relatable to your avatar. Number 2 is establishing expertise in your field so that that's going to be able to help generate leads for you long term. And number 3, creating familiarity as a dynamic human in that snowflake exercise so that people begin to have that know, love, and trust factor with you. Those are the 3. From that 3rd, you can break that down to multiple days of content. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about that first category, feeling heard, felt, and relatable. Feeling heard, felt, and relatable. So this is where you need to truly understand what your avatar's challenge is and be able to pivot and cast hope. One of the best ways to really catch the attention of the person you're trying to attract is to understand their pain point and put it as the header in your post, right? One of my favorite things to put in is have you ever, right? Have you ever? And fill in the blank. Okay. Now this is going to depend on your business and what you're trying to connect with the pain point of your avatar, right? Are you trying to generate leads because you're a business coach? Are you trying to generate leads because you're a career pivot coach? Are you trying to generate leads because you're in network marketing and you want to show people a different way, right? you've got to get crystal clear on who you're trying to attract and what their pain point is, right? So for me, something might sound like, have you ever cried yourself to the airport once again, knowing what you were going to miss while away for work? Or have you ever peeled into the daycare to be the last parent to pick your child up and see their disappointed face, right? These are just two examples I'm giving you guys because my ideal avatar is a mom who's working a lot and missing out on, she feels like she's getting a C- on everything, right? Because she's trying to do all the things, right? Your avatar, it might be a business challenge. It might be a career pivot. Like if you're a career pivot coach, it may be something along the lines of, have you ever felt as if you weren't growing in your career anymore? Have you ever felt just completely that you were made for more, that there was more that so anyway, so where I'm going with this is you need to know their pain point. You need to know their struggle and be able to pivot and cast hope as the value proposition. Now, guys, this is like mistake number one with most people who are trying to sell, social sellers on media platforms, is that they spend their week in this space pitching, right? We don't want to pitch all week long. We don't want to brag and showboat all week long. We want people to feel heard and felt and cast hope, but that's just one dimension of your post, okay? Number two bucket was establishing expertise in your field that you're providing a solution to, that you're selling, that you're recruiting for, right? And so there's a couple of different ways you can do that, but what you're wanting to do with establishing expertise is that you want to become impressionable as an influencer in the industry that you're in, and you want to be educating your network on why they need it, right? So for me, I want to educate people on the power of residual income and what it is, why it's important, the impact it can make on your life, right? I'm also really passionate about leveraging LinkedIn to grow and scale your business on the number one business to business platform. I'm going to be educating people on tidbits and facts on the advantages of LinkedIn versus Instagram and Facebook. Advantages on tips and tactics on how to use LinkedIn. That's providing value within my niche where it comes through the feed week over week, month over month, that my network begins to see me as an influencer, as an expert in the field, so that A, when they're ready to create a secondary income stream, I'm first to mind, or B, when they need some coaching on growing their own brand on LinkedIn, guess what? I'm first to mind. But if I'm not pumping value through my feed every week for free, people are never going to know that I'm open for business. They're never going to know that it's an opportunity. They're never going to know to reach to me. Guys, in the midst of quarantine, there is no other way to truly be marketing yourself, right? Unless you're paying for ads. I haven't paid for an ad a single day in my business, and it's done perfectly fine through using social media, okay? Okay. Now, you may be an expert at career pivots, right? So maybe once a week or once a month, you're highlighting clients who've made the career pivot. That could be part of your content, right? Maybe you're a mindset coach and you want to talk about the value of mindset and impact it can make on your business. Again, you can be highlighting clients. I do this. I highlight clients with success, okay? The bottom line is once a week, you need to be establishing rapport and expertise in your field. And if you're at a loss because you're new at what you're trying to pitch, this is where you pick up books and you read. You pick up books to be inspired. You read articles within LinkedIn. You search hashtags. You find great articles. You find great influencers and you share their content. Okay. If you're reading a book and sharing what you're learning, just give the author credit. Guys, this is how I built my LinkedIn influence. This is how I built my network marketing business on LinkedIn. I educated my network on the value proposition of the secondary income stream. At first, they thought I was crazy. Now they all know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Okay. Now, the third bucket that we'll kind of close out on today, that third bucket, I told you guys I was going to give you 5 days of content. This is why. The first 2 days, I've talked to you about who you're trying to attract and what their pain point is, right? And the second piece, we talked about expertise, but that third bucket is the snowflake bucket. And that creates the additional days of content for you. You should have multiple. There shouldn't just be one. You can fill out a full 7 days if you break down your snowflake categories. What do I mean by that? You are unique. Whoever you are that's listening to this podcast, there are passions inside of you that are relevant to business on LinkedIn that can become additional categories of content for you. So let me give you some examples. Number one could be your current profession. A lot of you love your day job, but you also are gigging on the side. There is no better way to be human, relatable, and trustworthy than to provide value within your own industry in your 9-to-5. Guys, I exited corporate America 3 years ago, but I still provide value in the arena of corporate America monthly, weekly. Okay. Today I made a post about women exiting the workforce in corporate America, right? And how disheartening it is for the progress that we've made as women, what the impact of this epidemic is doing, right? To women in the workforce. Your current role can be a place that creates the unique snowflake aspect of you, that you're not just your gig, whatever your gig is that you're pitching and recruiting for on LinkedIn, right? So that's one category. Another could be simply, if you're listening to this, you're passionate about entrepreneurship. That could be in and of itself a category weekly that you post about. And how do you get inspired and talk about entrepreneurship? Again, if you're not feeling content oozing from your soul about this, pick up some books and read about entrepreneurship. And that becomes your content, right? That becomes your content, inspiring budding entrepreneurs. Okay. Also, a lot of you listening into my podcast are social sellers in the network marketing space. Now, I would caution you not to be posting a ton of stuff brand specific to your company, but you're all part of a larger industry, a movement, whether you're in the health and wellness arena, whether you're in skincare or the health and beauty or the wine industry, right? Educate your network weekly on the impact or opportunity within the industry you're in, not your particular company, not your particular product. You can do that on occasion, but in general, you want to be creating curiosity, but rather the entire industry. What are the numbers of sales in the billions globally in your industry? Why are you excited about pursuing it? Why are you excited about the industry, right? Again, one of the things I'm super passionate about is women specifically in the workforce. And I post a lot about current topics about women and working full time and the struggle. And sometimes it's inspirational because it's me with my kids. Sometimes it's an article about corporate and women, like I said in the beginning. So there are a myriad of ways that you can brand yourself and make it business related and create multiple subcategories of the snowflake content that makes you unique, that creates the know, love, and trust factor, because you're not just pitching something, you're connecting with cold market strangers and drawing them to you because you're relatable, you're trustworthy, you're more than one agenda, you're providing value, right? Okay. So I want to tie this in a little bit of a bow. Hopefully this has been helpful. So again, I'm going to say it one more time. The way you can create 5 to 7 days of core content every single week is once a week, focus on the feeling heard and felt and relatable, right? And the pain point and the solution that you have, okay? So that your network knows you're open for business and that there is an opportunity. But that doesn't need to drown your feed every day, once a week, okay? Secondly, establishing expertise in your field. Educating people so that they know and come to you when the time is right because you are an expert in what they're looking for. Number 3 is the output of multiple categories, which is your creating familiarity as a dynamic human, as a snowflake. What are the subcategories of you that you can put into your feed, whether it's your current career, your past career, your passions in entrepreneurship, maybe it's around work-life balance, you name it. You guys know if you dig deep, you've got lots of subcategories there. That creates dimension to you. Know, love, and trust. Now, reminder, I said this in the beginning, but you want to create dynamic variation in your post, whether it's, making a post once a week, making a video once a week, creating a poll once a week, using articles, using quotes, but make it unique, make it interesting, right? And create some variation. And here's the thing, I told you in the beginning, I was going to tell you my kind of time management piece here. Know that any savvy social seller who's crushing it on the internet plans their content, plans it. They're not sitting last minute on a whim, just typing out what's top of mind. It may look like it came off the cuff and was posted at the perfect time, but guys, creating content is an income producing activity. I challenge you to find in your week where your creative juices are flowing the most. You want to ride the roller coaster at the peak, where your energy is high, where you have mental clarity, and journal and write and plan. Take your 5 categories, okay, and journal and create and craft your content. I tend to do mine on Mondays and Tuesdays in the morning. I would encourage you to create before you consume, okay? Turn off the internet and type. I don't want you to be crafting in your inbox. I don't want you to be crafting in the post because there's too many distractions of Messenger and everyone else talking. I want you to close everything down, all your notifications, and just get crystal clear with your attraction marketing method through the buckets I just shared with you, and weekly creative habits of carving out time. Don't assume it will happen. If you don't put it in your calendar, it will not happen. Make space and time for it when energetically you are the best version of yourself to create the content, archive it, and be ready to post it out. Oh my gosh, we could have a whole nother discussion on post planning and all the jazz, but hopefully this has been helpful for you guys to produce before you consume, map out when you're going to create your content in those subcategories, and commit to it weekly. You can even create a couple of weeks of content in advance, right? In advance. All right. Here's the summary for you guys. In summary, I'll go back to the very beginning. There's 4 keys to creating good content. Create value, be real, inspire people, and show up as an expert if you're a business owner, right? My magic formula, in summary, your 3 key buckets that will break you down into at least 5 days of content that I promised you in the beginning. Who are you trying to attract? That first bucket is that pain point to casting hope and you having the solution once a week, right? You want the that's me factor, that they read your post and they're like, that is me. That is my problem. Oh my gosh, what is the solution, right? That's number 1. Number 2 bucket, expertise. Provide value, educate, let people know you're the expert in your field. Number 3, which breaks down into as many days as you want, your snowflake exercise, guys. What makes you unique? Whether it's your previous or current career, maybe it's topics around the workforce, maybe it's in entrepreneurship, maybe it's the industry in your side hustle, but what can you do to create your snowflake dimension? And with that, guys, I'm wrapping up. I hope this was helpful. I hope you get to work. You craft out your 5 to 7 categories. Would love to hear from you in the Burnout to All Out Facebook page after you hear this podcast. Let us know. Share with us your categories. Share with us your 5 days of content. We'll be raffling off some goodies for those of you who are participating and sharing in the Facebook page what you're doing to map out, hold yourself accountable, stand in your power as a social seller, and own this industry, and own that being on media daily is an income producing activity if you own it the way a business owner owns it and not be on scroll patrol. All right? You guys have a wonderful day. thanks for listening to the Burnout to All Out podcast. For free resources, materials, or information on my coaching services, go ahead over to livethefreelife.co. That's livethefreelife.co, or check out our Facebook community at Burnout to All Out, and make sure you follow Burnout to All Out on Spotify and subscribe to iTunes. And it would truly mean the world to me if you paused for just a second, gave me that 5-star review of the show, and be sure to share this episode with any burnouts you think would be inspired to go all out after hearing this episode.